Gavin Newsom is calling out Donald Trump for betraying rural hospitals and communities that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. He posted this article here saying another California county is losing its only hospital after feds refuse to step in. And he says, heartbreaking, Trump continues to betray rural Americans, this time closing the one and only hospital in a county that he won by nearly 2/3. Since this hospital is closing, people that are having issues in this town will now have to drive 40 minutes into a neighboring county for critical care. Additionally, 150 healthcare workers are going to lose their jobs because of this, already resigning and seeking work elsewhere. The federal government is taking away this hospital's critical access designation, which is 40% of its overall revenue, a gap too large for them to fill, forcing them to close down. And get this, it's all happening because of a newly interpreted federal rule. It requires critical access hospitals to be at least 35 miles from the next closest hospital when traveling by main roads. I mean, how ridiculous is that? This hospital is only 32 miles away, so it's 3 miles short of the required distance. But they're arguing they don't take that route to get to the hospital anyway. They take a different route which would meet that standard. However, of course, the federal government under Trump doesn't care, and they're still taking away their funding and forcing this hospital to close down. But I hope Republicans in rural areas see this video and understand what Donald Trump's priorities are. He's doing this to these rural hospitals so he can give billionaires more money.
I just saw a video of a woman in Tennessee whose father is being taken out of his nursing home starting September because of Medicaid cuts. And she doesn't understand why it's happening because it's something called Blue Care in her state. And I don't think she made the connection that Blue Care is Medicaid in Tennessee. And she's like, it's a 1-star nursing home. It's not a good nursing home, but it's the only one that has dialysis. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I voted for this woman's best interest. And, you know, a lot of the MAGA people have come at me for saying that these tax cuts are going to benefit billionaires, but it's already starting. The ripple effects that people think are starting in 2028, they're starting now. Now.
You will kill me. I'm HIV positive for 20 years. I have survived on my meds that are $10,000 a month. And really, you look at me, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. How have you cut all these cuts? How the hell would I be able to shop at your store?
I have nothing to lose at this point, and I am just trying to get them to see that these are people. Hi, I'm Nancy Baker Curtis, and I am the mother of Charlie, who is a beautiful, almost 10-year-old little boy with intellectual and physical disabilities who needs Medicaid in order to get to whole. Charlie and I made the big step of traveling to Washington, D.C. recently so that we could talk with our elected officials about how the big, beautiful bill will impact our family personally. I know the video regarding our visit to Senator Ernst's office has gone viral.
The senator has a pretty full schedule. We've been emailing her and we haven't heard back from her.
I'm so frustrated by and excuse my language, the of walking into that office and having her staffer tell me that, well, you've never reached out, and if you're going to make an appointment, you better do that 3 months in advance.
It's okay. You don't have to cry. I know. It's okay. It's just he's a person, right?
I know she's busy. I know I was taking a chance walking in there with no appointment. But dang it, I have nothing to lose at this point. And I am just trying to get them to see that these are people. But they don't want to meet my son. They don't want to look him in the face. They don't want to see his beautiful blue eyes and his bright blue glasses. They don't want to know that his name is Charles William Curtis, because then they'll have to remember him when they vote against him and the best interests of their constituents who are begging them to not do this. We need to do better, and we need to recognize this moment for what it is. And it's an outright assault on our educational system. It is an outright assault on our disability community. And that is a community that any one of us can find ourselves in at any moment.
Big, beautiful bill, Medicaid cuts. I'm for it because I'm an able-bodied American citizen right now. I'm headed to work. I work at least 40 hours a week. People need to stop just getting free benefits. If you can go to work, you need to go to work, because we're tired of paying for everybody. So Medicaid cuts, we're here for it.
It's my mother-in-law. She worked 40 hours a week too at the same company for 32 years, and she was union, and then she got brain tumors and she lost her health insurance, because if you're not working, you're gonna lose your health insurance, and then Medicaid and Medicare kick in. Every single person is one tragedy away from having to be on Medicaid and Medicare. You're one brain tumor, one car accident, and for you specifically, looking at you, I can tell you're one heart attack away from needing Medicaid and Medicare. Now, I know that you think everybody that's on them is lazy illegals, but guess what? One day you're gonna need it and you're not gonna have it. And it's not you that's paying everything. It's people like me, the younger generation, that are paying for that for you, for her. Now, thank God that she had successful children that can subsidize her way of life, because Medicare and Medicaid, it don't cover it all. You're going to be in poverty forever, and you're going to lose your house, you're going to lose your home, you're going to lose everything that you ever worked for, and you're going to have to move in with your kids. So I hope
releasing our budget, and just so you know, we only made a cut to Medicaid spending, and we're going to cut back on 20% of food stamps or SNAP. And Medicaid is only going down by $880 billion. $880 billion is the exact amount of budget that's given to Medicaid. So you're getting rid of Medicaid? No, you silly goose, we're not getting rid of it. We're just taking all of the money from it. So it won't have any money, but it'll still be Medicaid. Doesn't make sense. So I'm just gonna have an empty name of Medicaid that can't be used for anything. So what happens to all those people who need health insurance, who need their benefits covered, their medication, and all those other things? Well, just think, as an American citizen, all of the money you're going to be saving corporations. We plan on giving corporations and the richest people in the world $4.5 trillion worth in tax cuts. And then we're going to spend $300 billion on the border and defense spending. So that's really going to help get the rich richer, which then that money may trickle down to you. What about the children who are going to go hungry from this? And what about the people who won't be able to get their medical services? This is when the American spirit comes out. Those kids can go get jobs and contribute to the household income. The older children can watch the younger children for daycare, and those lazy parents who are getting SNAP benefits can just go to work. This is all going to work out. You need to understand that it's important that we give rich people their money back. Okay, and you're saying you all want this. You want to go against the people who asked for help. You do realize making these cuts are going to affect Republicans a lot more than Democrats, even though everybody is going to hurt from this. You want me to have to tell President Elon Musk that he can't buy another mega yacht? Do you want to tell Jeff Bezos he can't have another private jet? Tim Cook that he can't buy another island in Polynesia? These are things that those people need and worked for. I don't understand why you don't get that the American people have to pay for it with these cuts and the taxes they're going to pay that are going to be imposed by our regime. That's so ignorant.
My one question as we sit here today is, why is it that the U.S. government always has money for war and bombs, but they do not have money for health care and our children? Yesterday, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth sat in front of the Senate for hours and told senators that they had already spent over $36 billion on this war over the last several months, and that is the same cost that it would have cost to extend health care for millions of Americans last year when they made the choice to allow health care to lapse for tens of millions of Americans. And instead, they used that money for bombs to kill children overseas. If you don't believe that's wrong, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I want to just use my time this morning to talk about not what's wrong with the system, but to talk about the belief and imagination we have to get to where all of you are advocating for. The United States of America is the only industrialized country in the world that has failed to create a baseline universal healthcare system. It's not because it's not possible. It's not because it's not technically feasible. It's not because we can't afford it. It's because we have failed to elect officials who are willing to go 10 toes down and to fight for health care to make sure that every single American has access to health care. Now, other countries' universal health care systems are not perfect. I visited some of these places, and that's fine. But there is no person in this country who should go bankrupt because they can't afford to get health care. There is no person that should die because they're afraid to go to the emergency room. There is no person that should live in a rural and tribal community in this country who can't access basic care in their communities. That is moral depravity. Healthcare is a human right. It is the most fundamental right, like food, water, and access to dignity as a human being. Healthcare is a human right. And so I am so grateful for the work that our Progressive Caucus is doing to advocate for this being the primary piece of our platform as we move forward. Because I believe that America is truly at an inflection point. In the 1930s, after the Great Depression, during the Great Depression, the United States actually had the opportunity to adopt universal health care, and other countries during that time chose to do so. Now, we did some big things during that time. We passed Social Security. We created the modern labor protections that have been talked about here today. We created the precursors for many of our modern food assistance and other programs that were fully realized in the 1960s and 70s. And so what I want to say here today is bringing universal health care into the 21st century is the unfinished business of the prior generations. And I do believe that that will be our business, not only in the next Congress, but when we win back the House and then we win back the presidency. Now, in the meantime, we got a lot of work to do. I am trying to do my part for New Mexico by bringing home millions of dollars for healthcare clinics through my community-funded projects. I'm working to create emergency care systems. We're funding behavioral health clinics. We're doing mobile healthcare clinics. But that is not enough, and the American people should not settle for table scraps. We need to demand healthcare for all, universal healthcare, and we need to continue to fight until it's a reality, because that is our generation's fight.
American people have been conditioned to believe that healthcare is not part of the social contract that we as citizens make with the government. The only reason that it's not provided for you here, even though you pay taxes, is because your shitty capitalist government makes deals with pharmaceutical companies so they can all profit at your life's expense. And it really is that fucking simple.
Healthcare in America is very, very expensive. But to now, picture a group of people literally who voted against their best interests, especially the MAGA voters who are depending on the special programs under healthcare. So fast forward 2 years down the line, once this administration came into power, they have passed a policy. They are literally doing the big, beautiful bill that was passed the other day, and they're doing budget cuts under the Healthcare Affordable Care Act. So who is affected under the Medicaid and Affordable Care Act? Literally, there are people under special programs, especially those who are under the disability programs. What happens? They are literally being told to pay extra from their own pocket because the special programs are being done away by states, and as a result of the budget cut. So people are crying. People are saying they are literally feeling betrayed. They feel like they were not warned. They feel like they were betrayed when they voted the way they did because they were not told the truth. Who is to be blamed? That's the question Americans are asking. Stay tuned. My name is Neshika. Please subscribe to my channel.
We were all warned many times that Trump's new big beautiful bill would close many hospitals and clinics in rural areas because of cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, and that would have significant impacts on the people that live in those rural areas because you have to travel very far to actually get medical care. And that's happening every single week now. The most recent example here is in Wyoming, where there's a cancer center, a cancer care center where patients in that area will go to get oncology and cancer care treatment, and they had already been on thin margins. They weren't making a lot of money. Sometimes they were in the negative, and they were considering closing, but because of Trump's new big beautiful bill and the upcoming cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, their board made the decision to actually close this clinic now. So all these people in that town of Wyoming, in Cody, Wyoming, will now have to find care somewhere else. They might have interruptions to their care. They might have to find new providers completely. They'll have to travel somewhere else, wherever that may be. But it's impacting them. And this is just one example. There have been many examples already across the United States. And the full effect of these Medicare cuts has not even taken effect. They're in the upcoming year. But these hospital industries are realizing and forecasting what's going to come, and they're already closing. So it's already impacting those people in those areas. So it's a very bad series of unfortunate events, and not quite sure what the resolution of this will be, but it's only going to get harder from here, unfortunately, for those people living in those rural areas.
He said, "I'll just bloat up and die in a month." That's what happens when the only dialysis center in your town shuts down. Let me tell you what healthcare collapse actually looks like in rural America. So Mark Piper is a rancher in Nebraska. 3 times a week, he used to drive 30 minutes for dialysis, a treatment he needs to stay alive after cancer destroyed his kidneys. Then his local hospital shut down its dialysis unit. And when he found out, his first thought was, "I'll just bloat up and die in a month." That's not dramatic. That's clinical reality. So now he has to drive an hour and a half each way. So that's a 200-mile round trip 3 times a week, over 9 hours just driving. As a nurse, let me break this down. Dialysis is not optional. If you miss treatments, toxins build up, fluid overload happens, and patients can go into cardiac arrest. So when a unit like that closes, this is what happens. Patients move away from their families, they rent second homes just to access care, or they risk missing treatments altogether. And here's the systemic failure no one wants to admit. This hospital was designated as a critical access hospital, but the reimbursement model doesn't even cover outpatient dialysis. So even when most patients are on Medicare, the facility still loses money. Meaning what? Life-sustaining care is being cut because it's not profitable. We keep hearing about billions in rural health funding, but if patients are still driving hours just to stay alive, that funding isn't reaching the bedside. And this isn't just a rural issue. This is what happens when access to care becomes conditional.
How do we live in a country where people work their whole lives and then can't afford health care? I just paid a patient's Medicare deductible. I'm not telling you that to brag, and I'm not telling you that because I'm a saint, because I'm definitely not. I'm telling you that because we live in a country where people can work their entire lives and retire and then have to choose between buying groceries and paying for their health care. There was absolutely no reason for me to be in that office. I'd already been in that office once, but I somehow forgot to drop off the orders. I was in there to drop off. And so as I made my way back downstairs, I stopped in and there was a couple standing at the window, and the lady told them it was going to be $154. And the lady looked at her husband and she's like, "We don't have that." And the lady was like, "I'm so sorry, we can't see you. We'll have to reschedule." And I slipped around the corner and I was like, "Do not do that to them. Don't do that. I'll pay it. Don't tell them, but I'll go to my car and I'll come pay you." And so I went back up there. It was going to be 3 weeks before they could see a surgical patient again. We have to do better.
My brother was hit by a drunk driver in 1996, 10 o'clock in the morning. Because of that, he is in a nursing home, and Medicaid pays for that. Because my 70-year-old mother, who has had 6 back operations and lives off of disability, cannot afford private insurance. But what I've come to realize is that the people that support this big, beautiful bill that's going to cut, literally gut Medicaid, that so many people live off of for insurance to survive, literally stay alive, they don't care. They truly do not care about the people it's going to affect, because they have this idea, this very corrupt idea, that people that are on Medicaid are just a bunch of lazy American citizens who lay on their couch all day and won't work, when in reality it's people that can't work. And I don't understand how we got here to where people actually get joy out of inflicting this kind of pain upon people, upon families. And they're cutting these social programs with this bill so that they can pour billions of dollars to deport law-abiding Americans to these ICE concentration camps. And there are people hooting and hollering in celebration of that. I ask myself every day, what is wrong with people? I got a degree trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with people. And I have yet to draw a conclusion, because every day I am surprised by the level of disdain they have for other people. It is truly so heartbreaking.
A story out of ABC News. As of January 2027, Donald Trump is canceling Medicare Part D. Medicare Part D covers prescription drugs and generic drugs. This is going to greatly impact the United States senior citizens. And furthermore, Donald Trump swore up and down that he would make prescription drugs affordable. This proves that Donald Trump is lying. And this story came from ABC News. So ABC News is not lying about Donald Trump taking away affordable prescriptions for the elderly that are on Medicare. God loves you. I love you.
Another hospital has shut its doors. This time, it's Texas Emergency Hospital in Cleveland, Texas. The closure was confirmed on May 12th, and it's part of a growing crisis in American healthcare. Hospital staff were handed layoff notices months ago, blaming it on changes in payer reimbursement, a surprise drop in Medicaid interim rates, and sky-high operating costs. Let me break this down as a legal nurse. These closures often happen in rural or underserved areas, places where hospitals like these are lifelines. When Medicaid slashes payments or reimbursements don't keep up with inflation, hospitals just can't survive. In 2022, this same health system consolidated its facilities. That was the writing on the wall. Now patients in Cleveland will have to travel even further for care, and in emergencies, that can be the difference between life and death. So again, this isn't just a Texas problem. This is going on across the nation. And as nurses, legal professionals, and advocates, we need to stay loud about what this means for healthcare equity.
Are you ready for your local hometown hospital, your nursing homes where your loved ones live at, to close down? Are you ready to lose your job that you've had for decades? Well, guess what? Because this big, beautiful bill has been passed, not only are millions of Americans losing health insurance, but hospitals, nursing homes, and other medical entities rely on Medicaid payments to stay alive. This is the largest healthcare cut in U.S. history. So geez, I'm really sorry. I hope you can find a place for your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother to live. Honestly, I just hope that if you did end up losing your critical access hospital in the middle of nowhere to these cuts, that somehow you can survive the extra 30, 45, 60 miles away to the next hospital. You can thank your politicians, the Republicans, Congress, and President Trump for that. And if you're about to be upset that, gosh, Emily, I hate that you're being political, healthcare has always been political. I grew up in a Republican town with a critical access hospital, and I'm proud of my roots. But honestly, these politicians don't care about your healthcare, and they don't care if you die. All they care about is saving money, even if it's at the expense of your life and your loved ones.
Welcome to another episode of FAFO MAGA edition. MAGA lady Suzanne says, I voted for Donald Trump to piss off liberals. It was hilarious. But this bill they're trying to pass will take away my Medicaid. I have type 2 diabetes with diabetic retinopathy. If I can't afford my medicine, I'll lose my vision. I'm scared. I'm in tears and need urgent help. Well, Suzanne, have you seen our new pretzels?
As the consequences of the MAGA movement set in, many Christian evangelicals are repeating a statement. Tell me if you've heard this one. I didn't vote for this. A few thoughts. First, this did not come without warning. The alarms have been sounding since 2015. The truth has been spoken since he came down those golden escalators. Many of us have stood behind pulpits and social media feeds and in family group chats until we were blue in the face and said, this is not the way of Jesus. Christian nationalism is anti-Christ. This man doesn't care about Christianity, he cares about himself. But they said we were overreacting. Some diagnosed us with TDS. Many even questioned our own allegiance to Jesus. This isn't new. The prophets have shown this pattern again and again. They warned the people, then the people mocked them, then the consequences came, and then they acted surprised. No. People don't get to participate in something, ignore every warning, and then claim innocence when it does exactly what we said it would do. Second thought, they'll say, but voting for someone doesn't mean I endorse everything they do. This man showed them who he was from the very beginning, and they still chose him anyway. What did they think was going to happen? Did they really think voting for a racist, misogynistic, adjudicated rapist was going to usher in the kingdom of God? No. They don't get to empower a corrupt system and then act surprised when it produces exactly what it was built to produce. Now, some would say it's about policy, not character. Where do they think policies come from? They come from a person. And when they empowered the person, they empowered the policies that came from him. This is how it works. And now, these are the consequences. As my mother used to say, you made your bed, now lay in it. Third thought, stop saying I didn't vote for this and start saying I was wrong. This isn't shame. This isn't punishment. This is repentance. This isn't just on the president. This is on every evangelical Christian who created the conditions for him. They must own it because they will never heal by pretending they weren't part of the wound. They heal by owning it and becoming different. Anything less isn't repentance, it's avoidance.
He needs to come down on our level and live like we do. He wouldn't survive, I'm afraid.
Do you have Medicaid right now?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I was just approved a few weeks ago.
You know, there's this narrative that a lot of people on Medicaid are lazy. Do you feel that's accurate?
No, absolutely not.
No, I'm not lazy. I try to get a hustle as much as I can.
No, I think they just can't help themselves.
Well, no, because I work. I do mechanic work, and so it kind of fluctuates. I have a bunch of health problems. I can work, but eventually I'll be where I can't work.
Just got laid off.
I'm a hairstylist, so it really just depends on how much I bring in due to my clientele. I'm currently trying to get like a part-time job, like a night job, just to put more money on the table, especially with the economy going up in prices and stuff.
Can you tell me about how it would affect you if you lost your Medicaid coverage?
Oh, Lord, I would have absolutely, teetotally nothing. I would not be able to live, period. I wouldn't even be able to eat.
It would affect me real bad because I can't support myself.
It'd be a very big impact because that's all we got right now.
I have some possibly terminal illnesses, and I've had to postpone it waiting for Medicaid. And I'm sitting here literally just trying to survive.
I wouldn't have no coverage at all. My grandchildren wouldn't have any coverage. My daughter wouldn't have any coverage. And we can't just go to the doctor as needed.
I'm curious if you could say something to Representative Johnson about cutting Medicaid, what you might say to him.
Well, Speaker Johnson, I can only say this. If you ain't had the shoes on your feet to see what it feels to be like under these conditions, then you won't never know it. Come out here and stay a little while.
Part of that bill would also give tax breaks to the richest 5%. So billionaires would pay less in taxes. How do you feel about that?
It's basically let's keep the rich rich and the poor poor. They have the money to pay for it. So why would you make them pay less?
They're going to stay a billionaire, and then we still going to be poor.
You have other doctor's office. Why choose this one?
Because I don't have insurance. Carrie, some people don't have insurance.
And you can't go to a regular doctor.
No, if you don't have insurance, do you know how expensive a regular doctor is?
Well,
do you understand that? And you vote for the administration that makes it that way. You vote in support of a system that keeps people like me trapped at places like this, okay? You vote for that, and then you turn around and try to take access from us.
I don't believe that they don't have cheaper medical. I'm going to look that up.
So you just don't believe me. Okay.
I have like clinics that take people that are not insured.
This is my clinic that I go to that they take when I'm not insured. Okay.
I have insurance.
I know that you do. I understand.
I never go to a doctor.
I understand fully, Carrie, that you and most of the people with you all have insurance. I know that. You guys are very, very lucky people. I think you don't realize how many people in your own community are a lot less fortunate than you. I'm trying to help you understand that this clinic is a resource for people who literally, some of them don't have a home, some of them don't have food every day, some of them have no reason, some of them are quite young, they don't have their parents. That's not abortion. They don't do abortion at this location, Perry.
If they just gave you health care.
Yes, yes, and they do. Do you know what they mostly do at this location? Cancer screenings and STD treatments.
And the pill.
Yes, they offer a prescription for the pill. But this is healthcare. Your doctor's office offers the pill. Shut up. Okay, well, you have a doctor.
I don't really have a doctor. I haven't had a doctor.
Okay, fine. Your friends have doctors. Your other friend just went to a doctor right there. I guarantee you, if they went in there asking for an abortion, they would get one. It's not the fact that they offer abortion that you're opposed to it. You just don't want poor people to have access to health care.
So we have about 2 weeks before the healthcare subsidies expire. And we only have about 4 days to 1 week before the Congress leaves for holiday vacation. If they do that without agreeing on some type of plan, the subsidies will lapse on the 31st of December and subsidies will go up on the 1st of January. And when I say go up, I mean double to triple for some people. People who are paying $250 a month, for example, will see their premiums go up to over $1,000. And estimates are saying now that 20 to 24 million people will be thrown off their health care because they simply cannot afford it. This is not even adding the people who are being thrown off of Medicaid. There's about 15 million people who are set to be thrown off of Medicaid because in that big, not so beautiful billionaire welfare package, they took almost $1 trillion from Medicaid so that they could pass a $4.5 trillion tax cut for the rich. With 15 million people being unable to get Medicaid services, those people would have tried to get ACA or Obamacare services. And with the subsidies going up, they're not going to be able to afford that either. So what we'll have in this country is a pre-2009 system where nobody was able to afford healthcare. And it's going to be even worse because costs have gone up since 2009 and wages have pretty much stayed stagnant. So people are already struggling to do the basic things like pay rent, pay car payments, pay for food, keep the lights on. And with tariffs making everything higher and layoffs being at an all-time high, I don't know where the politicians think all this money is coming from. And estimates have said, and I've said this time and time again, that without the ACA subsidies, not even counting the people who are thrown off of Medicaid, 50,000 people who didn't have to unalive will be unalived a year without access to health care. This is per year. So what are they trying to do in the Congress? Now, the Republicans have put forth something that does not extend the healthcare subsidies, but they want to expand the health savings accounts, associate health plans, and cost saving reductions, which that is not going to do anything at all for small businesses that have to take care of their own healthcare, or freelancers, or people who have to take care of their own healthcare, because healthcare in this country is tied to your job and not to an individual person. So this will not help millions of people who are on healthcare. Mostly, this will help, once again, corporations and people who already have money. So it is not surprising that in a Republican-led House and Senate, the Republican healthcare bill failed. They couldn't even pass their own bill because their bill is that bad. Now, the Democrats put forth a dueling bill, and their bill is pretty much a clean bill that just extends the subsidies for 3 years. And even though 4 Republicans in the Senate crossed party lines to actually vote with the Democrats, Republicans like Susan Collins, Josh Hawley, Lisa Murkowski, and Dan Sullivan all crossed party lines to vote for the bill that extends the subsidies. However, That wasn't enough, and that bill failed too. So now they have 4 to 7 days to go, and they are back to the drawing board. And it's not really looking good either, because this right here, this fight for subsidies, was the reason for the shutdown. There were 13 to 14 votes in the Senate for this exact reason. And the Republicans refused, under threat of starving people, to fund these subsidies. And they told Democrats, in order to get them to cave on the shutdown, they told Democrats that we would have this fight later. It's later, and they are running out of time. The good thing is, people actually know who to blame on this one, because a new AP Nordic poll came out about Bone Spurs and his handling of the ACA and healthcare in general, and only 29% of those polled actually approve of his handling. 69% disapprove, and 70% of those polled says that the ACA subsidies should remain and be funded. And this includes 45% of Republicans polled said that the ACA subsidies should continue. And this is before people start actually feeling this in their wallets. So if they don't fund the ACA subsidies and people start seeing those bills in an election year, if we think the Republicans have had a thrashing so far, we ain't seen nothing yet. Because when people's loved ones who didn't have to unalive start unaliving around them, and they know exactly who to blame for the loss of that loved one, people are going to be pissed. And those are the type of scars that last. And the people who will be the most affected by this, as usual, are going to be people in rural areas, people who tend to vote conservative, people who voted for Bone Spurs and his regime. The reason why is, without the ACA subsidies, people are not going to be able to pay their healthcare costs. And because hospitals have to treat people via the Hippocratic Oath, there are a lot of hospital bills that are going to go unpaid. If that happens, then the hospitals will be spending more to treat people, and they won't actually get any of that money back because those people are uninsured, and they also can't pay these really high bills. And the hospitals will have to increase their costs, not only for people who are paying out of pocket, but also for insurance companies, who will in turn charge more for their insurance. So even if you don't get your healthcare from an ACA, you will be affected by the price changes, because with hospitals charging insurance companies more because they are paying more out of pocket to treat people who can't pay, the insurance companies will up their rates for other people to recoup that cost, because they're not going to eat the cost themselves. They got that yacht to build, and they also have shareholders to pay. So what you're going to see is higher premiums for your healthcare that you're getting, as well as more denials of coverage. Hospitals also will not be able to cover their overhead costs. At that point, hospitals will be trying to remain afloat and not necessarily thriving. Upgrades to hospital technology is not going to be a thing. Being able to fully staff in that hospital is not going to be a thing. So you'll be having skeleton crews running in normal daily hours, which is going to breed a ton of neglect and mistakes and malpractice issues, which could cause unalivings as well as irreparable harm to some people as well. And in rural areas and less populated areas, hospitals could just shut down completely. There are 750 hospitals across the country in rural areas that are hanging on by a thread as it is. If these subsidies don't pass and people aren't able to pay their hospital bills, and hospitals are no longer getting Medicaid payments because of that $1 trillion cut, those hospitals in those rural areas will close. And sometimes that is the only hospital within a 100-mile radius. I really hope those bathrooms were worth it. And congratulations on your price of eggs. Y'all really did a great job owning the libs. I'm sure that's going to be really helpful for you when you are driving 200 miles to the nearest hospital for your emergency.
Never forget that elections have consequences. For one city in Nebraska, they're learning that shit the hard way. Curtis, Nebraska has a population of 806. Just the kind of place with a single traffic light, one health clinic, and a fuck ton of American flags. And in 2024, over 85% of them voted for Donald Trump. Now, their only medical clinic is shutting down by September 30th of this year. It's the kind of place people went for everything. For checkups, blood work, urgent care, you name it, that's where they went. And once it's gone, they'll be looking at a 40-mile round trip just to see a doctor. So who have they decided to blame? Not Trump, not the Republican Party. They're blaming the hospital executives. Like this is some sort of isolated business failure and not the direct result of the GOP's big, beautiful bill that gutted Medicaid and rural healthcare funding. That bill slashed nearly $1 trillion in Medicaid. Small-town hospitals like Curtis's, they were the first ones thrown under the bus, and the GOP knew it was coming. And now look where these people are. Sick, stranded, and still making excuses for the guy who signed their death warrant. But this is the cost of voting for the con man, guys. Your taxes don't get you care. Your vote doesn't get you help. It just buys you a slower, more painful collapse. So when you say you support law and order and protecting life, but watch your hospital close down under a president you put back in power, you're not just a voter, you're the getaway driver.
So majority of people usually ask this question: when you're voting, why are you voting for somebody who's literally going to take away your best interest? Why are you voting somebody who's going to make your life difficult, not only for yourself, your community, and so many people across the country? That's basically the question that a lot of Americans are asking this question. So they're asking this question especially to the MAGA voters. Why is that? And here we are 2 years down the line, we are seeing MAGA voters. They are going online, they are crying, they are asking for sympathy, they are asking for forgiveness, and they are saying they did vote and they voted wrong, they were betrayed, they were not told the truth. So they're asking for Americans from other people, from other races, from other communities to unite, come online or come on and do campaign where they're asking the government, their state, to come up with policies that are going to help them. So 2 years down the line, the big beautiful bill has been passed. The healthcare issue under the healthcare Affordable Care Act, it has literally been done away. There's a lot of budget cuts that have been going on. Special programs are being done away, and people are suffering. Some people literally, they cannot afford to go on from their own pocket to pay because the money is literally not available in their savings account. They don't have the money, and the government is telling them, well, we are doing away with this health care, these special programs, because the big beautiful was passed just the other day, because the government does not have money. So these MAGA voters, they're crying and they're saying, well, we voted for this, but seriously, you did not warn us, you did not tell us the truth. So a lot of people are asking the MAGA voters, hello, you were warned, you were told by other people, but somehow you did not listen. Somehow you buried your head in the sand and expect other communities to be affected and not you. So why do you think you are so special? Or maybe you have this privilege that is going to protect you against these policies that are literally affecting other communities. Were you expecting for you to be given special privilege while other communities to be affected? Is that what you're trying to tell Americans? That's the question most Americans are asking this question. But one thing is for sure, MAGA voters right now, they're crying and they're saying, we were betrayed, we are angry, and yes, we wish we can turn back time and change the way we voted. Unfortunately, when it comes to elections, unfortunately when it comes to voting, there's always repercussions. When you do something, be ready for the consequences, and these are the consequences. And people in America are telling MAGA voters, well, you voted for this, these are the consequences. Now let's wait for the next 5 years so you learn from these lessons, so that when it comes to the next election, you know who you're going to vote for. So people are being told right now to do their research, to do their level best to get the right information, so that when the next elections come in America, they vote for somebody who has their best interest at heart. Do you agree with the MAGA voters? Are you sympathizing with them? Let me know what your thoughts are, and then please tell me where you're watching this video from. Thank you so much. Until next time, please subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.